Adeptus Custodes, 10th edition faction focus breakdown with Bricky by Bricky on Bricky EP.2.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for all the wonderful wishes to make me feel better, whatever. I'm still got a little nasally and stuff, but I definitely feel a little bit better. It's always like this. It's like a 3-day process where it's bad, then sore throat, then stuffed nose, and then I'm better again. So, it might last a little bit, but I should be all good. And energy is pretty solid. And it's 6 a.m. again, and it's time for the Adeptus Custodes, the Golden Legion. That's an okay one. I would have preferred the 10,000. Would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I must admit, this is probably my least favorite cover art in all of 9th edition. I really don't like this one. There's so many things that are weird about it. It's so dark. The colors are kind of just poorly, like it's kind of muted. I don't know why the Sister of Silence is so prominent in frame. The axe looks giant, like more than it's supposed to. Like it's kind of goofy. And what's the deal with this bird? Just this bird there. Why is that bird there? But Custodes are an army I own.
I kind of like sick Bricky. Like not that I don't want him to feel bad, obviously, right? But like, because being like sick sucks. But I kind of like Ramble Bricky. It's kind of great.
It is the last army that they are showing off that I do own and play. I was not a huge fan of Custodes in 9th edition. They were perfectly viable, no doubt in my mind about that one. They were very strong in a lot of ways. However, a lot of the times their strength did not come from a fun perspective. It was a lot of the weirdness that they had, like martial katas, for example. It was a rule that I never liked. I felt rather like I had power in terms of in-game strength, but it was just not fun to use, not fun to handle, and particularly confusing. So
I mean, are we talking about breaking out the protractor for oval bases turning, oval base movement, like confusing? I'm not familiar with martial kata in 9th. I'm really not. I'd have to break out the codex, but even then, my codex is 10th, so I'm going to have a warped perception of why he wouldn't like the mechanic.
Honestly, I'm very curious what they're going to do for custodians, because I would honestly prefer the Tau method where they just trash everything and make something totally different. Deep in the vaults of the Imperial Palace, mysterious gene alchemies and arcane secrets combine to forge warriors unlike any other. The shining golden legion of the 10,000. See, there it is. Where they walk, success follows. Other factions may crow about their so-called elites, but if you really want to feel like it's your finest hour, every hour, an evening with the Custodes is the way to do it. That is pretty true. All right. Faction rules. God damn it. Well, it might be better than before. Martial katas.
Oh my god, I feel that though. I literally feel like when you're like, oh, update happened. Oh god damn it. And I understand that. Without understanding why he's upset, I understand this.
Every custodian is a close combat expert, drilled in 100 nuanced and subtle fighting styles called martial katas. To face every possible opponent, their rock-solid display makes shifting style mid-combat a breeze, moving from iron defense to all attack and situation demands. All right. So let's see. Okay, so they made it a little bit easier. There's only 3. At the start of the fight phase, select one kata stance from the list below to be active for your army until the end of the phase. While a kata stance is active for your army, each unit from your army with this ability gains the relevant ability. Captaris is melee attack, targets this unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll.
It feels like this is how this was Chaos Space Marines was explained to me, how they have their like 3 buffs they can choose from per turn. Just what Chaos God blessing do you want? Do you want Nurgle, Khorne, or what was it? Nurgle, Khorne, or I don't think it was Slaanesh. Was it Slaanesh? That doesn't sound right. Tzeentch. I think it was Tzeentch. Yeah, I think it was Tzeentch. Because Slaanesh is more tied to Eldari, right? So it feels like I think that they really like these like pick 3 mechanics as I start diving into the tabletop. Yeah, Tzeentch makes sense. Yeah, this reads specifically in fight phase, without knowing in-game mechanics. If it's your opponent's turn and they declare charge, go into fight phase, I'm assuming you can still reactive choose this because you're still in the fight phase, even though it's their turn. I'm trying to figure out how that necessarily breaks down from a gameplay perspective, because I haven't delved too deep. I haven't delved too deep into playing. I haven't even really played an actual game yet. However, I am learning the most experience that I can. Did you know that white scars have one of the most interesting interactions in the game? And I never knew this. So what is it? Vehicles have to move. What is it? They have a vehicle that has to move 20 inches, but they have an interrupt that allows them to move like 6 inches. So what happens? From a rules perspective, it just goes into your reserve, right? Like where Deep Strike is, how they're in your reserve. So if you move with the aircraft, you do the interrupt. Because you can't actually do the full required movement, rules as written, that model gets removed from the table and goes into reserve. Fascinating things. I love rulings like this. But then again, I should probably also learn to walk and understand how certain phases work, rather than understand the intricate rulings of some of the most niche interactions in a metagame. Probably a good idea, but that's not how I function.
The Cutterai is sustain hits 1. Rendax is lethal hits.
Sure.
Okay.
Neat.
Okay.
This is probably all changed now.
This is definitely better. I'm still a little bit iffy on the fluff point. I'm not quite sure. Like, I do agree that, like, yeah, custodians and their fighting stances is a good part of their lore.
Sure.
But I'm not sure if the custodians' karate moves really should be their main rule. You know, just... I'm not sure if it should be their main choice. But that being said, regardless, from a gameplay point of view, this is actually not too bad. It's at the start of the fight phase, so you don't have to make the choice in the command phase or anything. Mm-hmm. It's just
reactive fight.
The fight phase.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just your fight phase, it's also your enemy's fight phase. So you can...
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I come from Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously. I come from playing games like Legend of the Five Rings with political reaction interrupts. Come from games like Naruto with jutsu stacking, Magic the Gathering in a limited capacity because I play Tron, understanding how the stack functions versus the chain in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? Understanding turn structure makes a lot of sense. So coming into this, right? Like that makes sense being able to, it's both players' fight phase. That gives them infinitely more value than just your fight phase, which is fascinating.
Change this up basically every single turn.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
And then it says, let's be active for your army until the end of the phase, right? So it's only for the phase and the fight phase. So there are 3 pretty good ones. Captaris is just a nice defensive buff, -1 to hit. The Cutterai is a classic horde killing style with exploding 6s and sustain. And Rendax is for the big chunky monsters, which is lethal hits. I mean, from a gameplay point of view, It's pretty good. It's very flexible. You choose it at the start of the fight phase, which is very handy. It's both fight phases in the turn or in the battle rounds. So each turn is also very flexible, and it is against all 3 major things. If the opponent is attacking you a lot, Captaris is pretty good.
Yeah.
If you're fighting hordes, the Cutterai, and yeah. So I mean, it is pretty good overall.
I think it covers a lot of bases.
It really is that easy to become the undisputed master of the fight phase. I suppose so. Yeah. I mean, the custodians get their work done in melee. Their shooting is like chip damage for the most part, or just extra little bits.
It's interesting to think about.
They do get their work done in melee. So makes sense.
It makes me wonder how they actually perform in melee, especially during like if I'm playing a Grey Knights player, right? Because we don't have Psychic phase in 10th anymore, from what I understand. I hear that got consolidated elsewhere. That might be in shoot phase. I'd have to check. I'm curious how they perform, because some of my big things have been like, how do you deal with X, right? How do you deal with, I don't know, an Imperial Knight? How do you deal with a Wraith Knight? How do you deal with a Baneblade 72 inches with clear line of sight on you, right? Which is actually why I'm a proponent of the actual like static Games Workshop approved terrain settings. I do like those for a lot of reasons. I also do think if you want really fun Beer Hammer or a very fun just thematic game, or even a high skilled game, like a high skill ceiling game with other people, definitely do the whole, what was it? Is it 8th or 9th edition? I place terrain, then you place terrain, then I place terrain, then you place terrain. So you have like no man's land on the point in middle, and you just bunker up and make castles on each side of the board. Bro, I want that. I want more of that. Please, can we Beer Hammer this? I'm in. I'm down.
All right, the Shield Host. This is their attachment rule, Aegis of the Emperor.
Sure.
Models from your army have the Feel No Pain 4-up ability against mortal wounds.
I hear this is why they're good.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
They're dumb.
Don't know how I feel about that. This is taken straight out of the Emperor's Chosen, which was the reroll 1 hit or wound reroll and a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortals. Thing is, I don't know how I feel about the 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds being this strong. I will need to look. What do we have? We have Trajan and the Terminators. Okay. I will need to look at the data sheets because I've always been a little bit like feeling like Custodes weren't tanky enough to begin with. And this is kind of like a weird fallback. I'm a little iffy on a lot of stuff. I need to read the rest of the rules.
So I'm actually interested, and we have the ability of foresight here. Why I want to react to something like this, because we're currently in 10th as of this video being reacted to. But Custodes has also won a major event, if not what I understand, Worlds, right? Like, Custodes won a major thing. So now we have the ability of hindsight going into a video like this, not necessarily to critique, not necessarily to throw shade or anything like that, but to understand where Bricky's coming from on this, where people's mentality and headspace were at the start of 10th, as to what we have going into 2025, where they won a major tournament. So it's very, but also this is with the understanding that every 3 to 4 months they're updating the rules and codexes at this point, right? Like, so for example, Trajan Valoris, I really hope I pronounced that correctly. I probably didn't. I'd have to check his current thing in the app. I don't have the app open. I haven't scanned my codex in yet. But they, they'll adjust like damage numbers and stuff. Like you open like, your bikes, and the bikes have a different, their blast weapon, right? Their funny rockets have a different value than they used to. So it's really interesting being able to go back and see how, I mean, we do this in Pokemon as well, right? People still play RBY format. People still play GSC, right? Like people still play legacy formats. And we have the ability of hindsight, like GOAT format, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Solemn Judgment is a very controversial card in GOAT format because the way we use Solemn Judgment today versus how we used it in the past, the perception is different. So it's a controversial card because we have the hindsight to use it like we do in modern and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! To just negate certain things, where in the past we use it in a completely different way. We had a different mentality surrounding by it. So I always like videos like this. I like seeing how it helps me ingratiate myself with the lore, the mechanics, even the community to a degree. But it also allows me to kind of just look at this and see how people think about this as well. It serves to just bolster my own knowledge.
Read the rest. Let me read the rest. Trajan. I'm gonna do Trajan second. No, I'll do it in order. All right, Trajan Valoris. Movement
Deep
6,
strike.
T6. Okay. So the base custodian has got these guys T7. They are.
Wow.
Shit. Wow, it's tough. Okay.
Buff.
So custodian T6,
Swole.
2-up save, 7 wounds, and actually fewer wounds than before.
Okay.
He used to have 9. And a 2 OC, just 2. 5-up leadership, of course, because they're custodians, the whole thing.
Sure.
Infantry character, epic hero. Invulnerable save, 4-up. Has deep strike, a leader rule, and a 5-up feel no pain. Okay, so he's got already a pretty nasty feel no pain for himself. Captain General. This model is leading a unit. You can ignore any or all modifiers to the characteristic of models in that unit and or to any roll or test made for models in that unit.
So I will say, and this is noob, right? This is my perspective. I feel like Games Workshop words things like absolute dog water sometimes. So there's a very specific interaction that I was looking into. It was, oh my God, let me pull it up on the app. I know exactly what unit it is. It's the Eldari Wraith Lord is what it was. And I had to get a double check on this. I had to reach out to people in my Discord, be like, hi, is this what this says? So if you go to the Wraith Lord right now, go to options, right? And this is with the Eldari stuff that's up on there, right? Where is it? This model can be equipped with up to 2 of the following: 1 Eldari missile launcher, 1 bright lance, 1 scatter lasers, 1 shuriken cannon, 1 star cannon. Depending on how you interpret how that's worded, it can mean 2 separate ways. You may equip up to 2 of the following, which means 1 Eldari missile launcher, 1 bright lance, like I had. Or you can equip with up to 2 of the following, meaning I can bring 2 bright lances on my Wraith Knight and kill God because damage. So the way that it did come out, though, and so this was actually compounded, and I do have a defense on this. Because of how Games Workshop ships their products, you do not get 2 Bright Lances in the Wraithlord kit. I don't know how people WYSIWYG that. I don't know how people are able to obtain that second Bright Lance without kit bashing from a second kit. Therefore, you have a Wraithlord, I guess, with 2 missile launchers instead of 2 Bright Lances. I don't know. People make them out of the runners. I don't know how people do that. I'm very interested how people do that, especially when Games Workshop does not provide 2 Bright Lances in the kit. However, that is my big critique on that. Coming from games like Yu-Gi-Oh, where problem-solving card text was introduced because, oh my god, old wording. Old Yu-Gi-Oh wording is awful. Ugh, god. But having very clear, like L5R was very heavy on keywords to the point of its detriment, right? Bayushi Natoshi has, oh god, I love bringing this up. I love talking about my clan champion, Bayushi Natoshi. Oh my god. If we go to Bayushi Natoshi, my actual clan champion, Scorpion clan waifu, uwu, if you will. It's been really cool to see a lot of people actually be like, oh, you played L5R Kip? Yes, I did. I love it. Love Natoshi as my champion. Scorpion clan keyword, clan champion keyword, courtier keyword, ninja keyword, samurai keyword, sociopath keyword, loyal keyword, unique keyword, shoju soul. All but one of those is an actual relevant keyword. Sociopath serves no actual in-game function other than flavor text. He's a sociopath in setting. That's literally his character. The way I understood it, there was actually a person at an L5R tournament who had to call over a judge because they weren't sure what sociopath keyword did, to which, yeah, that's not actually... It is keyword sociopath, but keyword sociopath doesn't actually do anything. Also going into things like Naruto as well. So if we pull up the Naruto CCG, let's do Sage Mode, because he's gonna have actually a lot of keywords on him. Fucking expensive, by the way. Definitely don't cry every time I have to pull it out of its box. Naruto Sage Mode. Naruto Uzumaki Sage Mode is name with the keywords of leaf, genin, male, name, Naruto Uzumaki, relevant. Clone status, mastery, reinforcement. So all of these are generally descriptive trait keywords. Mastery, reinforcement are game mechanics. Reinforcement's like an extra deck mechanic. Mastery is after this uses the first jutsu a turn, you're able to pay an additional chakra to be able to bring it back to your hand, which actually came up. I actually misplayed at an event where I wiped an entire stack of pain. There were 3 pain teams, and I Rasen Shurikened all of them, which you technically cannot do because I checked the wording after and checked how mastery actually works. We're getting to the weeds here. So I like their keywords, but they have this weird hybrid of like word soup sometimes. And sometimes the wording is really left ambiguous, like in my Wraithlord comment. This is all to say, providing information into my point. As a newer player, I do have a little bit of issue with how they word things. It could just be how they are. And obviously, a lot of people don't seem to have an issue with this. This is definitely one of those where I'm looking at and go, yeah, I have to really warp my brain to the left to actually get that.
Excluding modifiers to saving throws. So basically, it's ignore -1 to hit, -1 to wounds, and also -1 like leadership for your tests. Things like that, basically. Okay. I mean, that's pretty good. You know, I'm normally not a big fan of just ignore something rules, but if it's the captain general and just for the unit he's leading,
sure.
I don't hate it too much.
Okay.
Movement Shackle. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, you can select one of the following.
So battle is round back and forth, right? The way I understand it. So the martial kata being once per fight phase, right? That's your phase and my phase. Both fight phases I can activate this. If it's once per battle, comma, at the start of the fight phase, comma, that is once per round, your turn, my turn, in the fight phase, if I understand that correctly.
To take effect until the end of the phase.
I like how that's worded.
Watcher's Axe melee weapon has an attacks characteristic of 12.
What?
Oh, that's 6, so it doubles his attacks. Holy crap.
What?
This model has a 2-up invul save. Good God.
Nice.
And this models in this units have the fight first ability.
Fight first, I think, is priority. Like in Pokemon, quick attack, extreme speed. That's how I at least understand it. Once for battles for the whole game. Ooh! Okay, so the power level on that makes a lot more sense then.
Okay. At the start of the fight phase. This is along with the chosen martial kata. And then what about its weapons? So the Watcher's Axe is assault, 24-inch range, 2 shots at 5-2-3. Wait, that's actually, I think, a huge buff. Isn't it 5-1-2?
As far as I'm aware, AP2 is kind of that sweet spot. You're not hitting everything, but if I understand it correctly, AP2 means you're hitting pretty much every goddamn Space Marine out there. Therefore, is kind of the benchmark, right? We've talked about an L5R, the CCG specifically, how Let Go from Dragon Clan was like, what, it was like 2 or 3 cost attachment. And therefore, an attachment of 6 doesn't really make sense unless it justifies itself, because you pay 6 gold, but I pay 2 gold to kill your 6 gold attachment. It's a negative investment. It has to justify itself.
Normally?
Wikipedia.
It is, and it's rapid fire 1.
Nice.
So it basically gained a shot because the rapid fire was outside of 12-inch range. And it also gained assault, and it gained a pip of AP and damage.
He's in a sweet spot.
Owie, owie.
Kind of spicy.
The melee, however, it's 6 attacks at 10-3. And that is 6 attacks here as well at 10-3-3. So it's a bit of a nerf in terms of strength, because the strength changes, and a drop of AP. Also, at the moment, he does not have like his warlord traits. That gives him like the CP regenning and the full rerolls to hit and all that stuff. But in addition for that, he still keeps his feel no pain, loses a couple wounds, gains a point of toughness, and he has his Captain General ability and that moment shackle. So you're doubling his attacks with that Watcher's Axe. God damn, that's gonna really hurt.
When Bricky just drops the goddamn. I kind of love it.
Or the 2-up invul save is also really good. We're actually starting to see some incredibly powerful rules for these custodians, but in a different way. I'm actually kind of impressed that Fights First is such a wanted ability. However, it is at the start of the fight phase, so you can use that one very reactionary. Because you'll know if he wants the Fight's First ability, like you know for a fact it's going to work right now. Interesting. Quite surprised to see the buff to his gun version of the weapon. The loss of wounds is a little unfortunate. Oh, he had 8 wounds, not 9. My bad. He only had 8 wounds. So he still loses a wound, but he did have a 5-up feel no pain, so he kept that. Oh yeah, no misericordia. Huh. No, but no dagger. I wasn't sure they would do extra attacks 1 to have you shank someone with it. I mean, overall, this is looking quite good.
I've noticed their lack of weapons, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I didn't even know he had this misericordia. That's interesting going into 10th. Because I mean, like playing Eldaria, like you have options. The Wraith Lords have options. Like, the Wraith Knight has options. The Wraith Knight, you can just bring the 2 heavy Wraith cannons, which I opt to because I'm an insane person like that. Yeah, it's been interesting to see how, like, Blade Master has, like, I think, like, 3 different things, but I think you pick what blade you want going in when you list build. It's super interesting.
Quite tough, quite tanky in all kinds of ways. All right, what about the, let's check out this. Yeah, better range, moment, shackle, dark age technology, etc., etc. All right, Alaris Custodians. They're the Terminator version. Terminator, Imperium, Alaris Custodians. 5-up movement, T7. T7, god damn.
Wound 4.
2-up save, 4 wounds each. So they did not gain a wound increase. They are still 4 wounds. 2 OC for them as well. So these guys actually have 2 OC each, and as Terminators, it's actually a little bit higher. I'm going to assume that the regular Custodian Guard probably have an OC of 3 or 4, which would make a lot of sense. They have Deep Strike, March Kata, Slayers of Tyrants. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a character, monster, or vehicle, you may re-roll the wound.
That's so good.
That is actually quite good.
You see that Robert Gurley, man? Yeah. Well, I don't want to see him anymore. Take care of him. You see that chaplain on a bike? Take him out.
They have Slayers of Tyrants right now, but I think it just lets them pile in a fancy way. Yeah, they can pile in towards the closest character, which is just kind of whatever. So that is actually a very handy little addition right there.
I kind of dig it.
Huh. Kind of cool to see. Let's see here. So from Golden Light, once per battle at the end of the opponent's turn.
Yeah. Oh no. Opponent.
Minor spelling mistake. Laugh at this user.
It's funny. I found that Lord of the Rings Online during the old Bree tutorial with the Nazgul stabbing Arthedain or whatever his name was. There's a typo in there that I've noticed for a number of years. It's really funny. I love when you find typos like these. Like, so someone's kicking themselves after this goes live.
God damn it, GW. God damn it, dude. You didn't spell check your fucking thing before you. Oh my god. If this turn is not within engagement, if this unit is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can move from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the bow that has more than 9 horizontally. So
nice.
They basically get a once per game at the end of your opponent's turn. Oh wait. That's actually that's quite good. At the end of your opponent's turn.
So your opponent's already done, right? They've done their command phase. They've done movement, shoot, charge, fight. Like, this is end of turn going into next.
If you use someone with engagement range of one or more, you can remove it in deep strike. At the end of your opponent's turn.
So what I'm hearing is, what about second deep strike? We've had first, yes. But what about second deep strike? That lictor over there is looking mighty fine. Oh my god.
So you can teleport them and then it'll be your turn. And then you can move them. It's actually really, really good. It's actually really, really good. Wow.
That's dumb.
Holy hell, okay. I'm quite surprised by that. God damn. War Gear ability Vexilla. Add 1 to the OC characteristics of models in the various units. Oh.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense.
Interesting. Adding 1 to the OC is so that actually will make them quite so. Okay, so the Vexilla is actually something that is held in a unit now. It is not a separate character leader unit. It is a piece of war gear, which is I think I prefer. Actually, I've always kind of been annoyed by that beforehand. Okay. Ranged weapons, ballistic grenade launcher, blast, 18-inch range, D6, 4-1-2. I see that we've, for the most part, kept the ballistic skill and the weapon skill for being 2-ups for the most part. The 4-1-1 for this. The grenade launcher before was at 5-3-1, so it was massively better in terms of power and AP. But it did gain D6 shots, not D3 shots, and blast. So it's more of an adjustment. It's adjusted itself to being more of a horde clearing option, which I think is fine. A lot more shots too.
But I mean, that's just intense, right? If you're going a grenade launcher, you're not necessarily sniping, right? You're like, you see that entire double stacked, well, because especially against Siege of Tyrants, right? You know, I'm pretty sure zoanthropes count as vehicles, right? So if you're an actual insane person, and I love you for this, if you run 18 zoanthropes in a game with 3 squads of 6, your Alaris custodians are looking at that with a grenade launcher like, hey, how's it doing, Mr. Zoanthrope?
Because of the blast and the D6.
Oh, so good.
The Castellan Axe and the Guardian Spear are both the same. They both have the exact same profile at 4-1-2 and 24 inches, but they no longer rapid fire and instead are assault. So in a sense, they gain an extra shot most of the time. Okay. And you can assault with them, or advance with them, which is quite good. I like that. I actually like that a lot. It seems like they're adding that to most of the major weapons. You can advance with them and shoot, which is good. Custodians were always a bit slow and you forfeited your shooting a lot. Last but not least, the melee weapons, you have the Castellan Axe, which is -1 attack. And you're actually only hitting on 3s, which is rather interesting. But it has a pretty good strength, only 1 AP, but flat 3 damage.
God damn.
At the moment, the main difference between the two is that the Axe had strength 8, but a lower piece of AP, and the Spear had strength 7, but a higher piece of AP. So this time, there's actually quite a significant difference. It's fewer attacks and you hit less, but the damage is higher. and the strength is higher.
Mhm.
Now the Guardian Spear is hitting on 2s, but it is an extra attack at 722. So it's actually the exact same profile, arguably a little bit worse because the strength didn't go up along with everything else. But I don't think that matters too much because Slayer of Tyrants is actually going to make it really helpful overall. And then the Misericordia is a single little stabby boy at 5 attacks at 521. Now, if you know,
I don't know why you'd bring the Misericordia though. Like looking at that, it feels like more bang for your buck. It feels like the Guardian Spear is just objectively the better choice. Like you got your 5, 2, 7, same AP, one higher damage. I don't know why you'd bring the Misericordia. I wonder if that's changed by now. That probably has changed.
Misericordia does not have the extra attacks rule. So it would appear that instead it is actually going to be used by the Vexilla. I'm assuming the Vexilla has to forfeit their weapon, and they have the grenade launcher, but they're carrying the flag in the other hand. And so they will be meleeing with the Misericordia instead of with these two melee
I guess that's fair.
That's my assumption. Couple of things to note. One, I believe the Custodians had 4 attacks each. So at the moment, it was 4 attacks plus a Misericordia shank.
Mm-hmm.
Now
So
it is the 5 attacks here, 5 with the spear, and 4 with the axe. So a little bit better if you're taking the spear in terms of attack volume. Actually, their volume is up in general just across the board. The axe and spear will shoot more because of the lack of rapid fire. The grenade launcher has more shots by far. And besides the Misericordia by itself, everything else is kind of, well, I guess it's just the spear, gets it up. But the Slayer of Tyrants rule is actually really, really good.
It's drum.
When it targets a character unit, I am going to assume that is
Judge, does Magnus the Red count as a character?
is not a unit being led by a character. It is simply
I would assume so.
Just a character.
I would assume your keyword at the bottom, Infantry, Terminator, Imperium, Alaris, Custodians, RTFC, words as written on the page. If your keyword does not contain character, as far as I'm aware, at least how I would understand that, is that it does not target. So if you have Rob Gurleyman with other people, I don't know if he can actually team up. I'd have to check into how he actually functions. I have one. I bought one the other day. I need to put Rob Gurleyman together. Maybe we'll put him together on stream. I'm going to do a sick paint job. I'm going to paint him like a red scorpion. It's going to be great. Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. Things like Magnus the Red, things like the prior guy we saw, Rob Gurleyman. I mean, have keyword character. That would make a lot of sense to me. The fact that it also deals with monster and vehicles as well, that deals with a lot from what I understand. This might actually be this is going to be super tech against Wraith units, right? Do Wraith units have keyword, right? Let me check. I'm 90% sure that they have vehicle keyword. Having to actually look this up. I know the Wraith Knight absolutely does. Wraith Knight keyword, Monster, Titanic, Tower, and Walker, Wraith, Construct, Wraith Knight. So if we go down to Wraith Lord, keyword, Monster, Walker, Wraith. What? Wraith Lords do not have vehicle keyword. Interesting. I thought they did. It's Wraith Construct, but currently, as of 10th edition, on Monday, January 20th, the entry lacks keyword vehicle, where I thought it would. That is very interesting to think about. I don't know what to do with that. Obviously, against the Baneblade, though, you definitely have increased... you can just reroll runes from those. That's dumb. And Lara's Custodians pile in that Baneblade.
Which would be something along the lines of, like, Mortarion. Though I would wonder if you would slow roll your Custodians in that case you kill all of the enemy, and then fast roll the rest to do it into the character. I don't know exactly how that would work. Like Space Marine Captain, 5 intercessors. You slow roll the intercessors until they're all dead, and then you can fast roll the rest because you get full rerolls to wound because it's only targeting the character. I'm assuming that's not how it'll work, because this is obviously meant to be a kill the big boy type thing, but we'll have to see.
I mean, in a vacuum, as with my limited understanding. So like fast roll obviously is roll, right? Realistically, if we're going to play to the most proper degree, proper being the word I'll use there, quote unquote, you will be rolling everything. If you bring 200 Kriegsmen and you're fighting a Magnus the Red, you should be rolling a single die per Kriegsman. Obviously, nobody has time for that. So therefore, you will in fact just fast roll rolls, right? Cool, I'm rolling 200 dice at that Magnus the Red. Does he live? Yes, no. As long as it is specifically the character be interacting, I would assume we would reasonably be able to shortcut with fast rolling it because you know everything going into those rolls. I don't know. Like this is why, like, how things are divvied and how things would classify rule fast rolling, appropriateness versus inappropriateness fascinates me because there's so many conversations to have here.
I actually wonder if the sustained hits kata might actually be better because they get full rerolls to wounds. I don't know. Not quite sure.
It's interesting.
Okay. Some nice buffs overall, I'd say, for the Custodian data sheets. Better shooting across the board, but not like too good. And then the weapons have a far more defined profile, I'd say. Trajan's Moment Shackle is a lot better, I'd argue. But they're not like massively tankier than before. Their toughness is up a little bit, but that's about it. They're still hitting on 2s for the most part. They still have 4-up invuls, and they still have a 2-up armor. So for the most part, they're still pretty tough. The lowering of AP across the board might help out a good bit too. Also, that golden light ability is
He's dumb.
all right. More data sheet. Let's go, prosecutors. Let's go. Of course, the other towns, the Emperor, the Sisters of Silence. Yes, the Hunting Blains. Oh, wow, awesome. All right. Let's see here. 6-inch range through T3, 3-up, 1 wound, 2 OC. Classic Sisters of Battle profile. Infantry, other battle line. Awesome. Imperium, Anathema, Psychona, prosecutors. Okay, people have been asking about this forever. Daughters of the Abyss. Models in this unit have a feel no pain of 3-up against psychic attacks. Gotcha.
I wonder how that interacts with Grey Knights going into 10th because of Psychic Phase being consolidated.
Gotcha. Okay. Each summon model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets a Psyker unit. That attack has the precision and devastating blows abilities. Ooh, okay.
Dumb.
That's actually pretty okay. Every wound roll of a 6 will automatically do mortals, and you can put some real hurt and snipe out a Psyker character from.
I have to look him up. Where is he? Because Thousand Sons doesn't have their codex, so I can look this up. Thousand Sons doesn't have the codex. What do you mean? Thousand Sons, what army? They have data. There's Magnus the Red. What keywords do you have? Monster Psych. Yep. Monster Psyker character, epic hero, demon chaos, Zinch, Primarch, Magnus the Red. Yes, prosecutors, I want all of you to fire at that Magnus the Red. I don't want to deal with him, but there's Vortex beasts here. There's Thousand Sun Marines here. Like, do you not want to take out the Heldrek? No, I don't want to deal with Magnus the Red. I want every gun we have to fire on that Magnus the Red. I don't want him in my game. Just get him out. No. Shoo, go away. Especially with... I mean, you wouldn't need precision, right? Because he's not attached to a unit as far as I'm aware. However, it's really funny because, they're anti-Psyker units. I have an insane distrust of Magnus the Red, and I really, really don't look forward to going against Magnus the Red as the auto pick for Thousand Sons because he's just good.
A unit it is leading. And then, of course, they've just got 2 attacks at the classic with their fists and regular old bulk gun. Okay, this is actually pretty interesting to note. So it makes them very good at defending themselves against Psychic and killing Psychers. Not much in terms of Psyker debuffs.
Sure.
But still definitely lots of anti-Psyker tools.
So hear me out. As somebody who likes Eldari, do you have to worry about Fortune on the Wraith Knight if the Farseer's just dead. Just throwing that out there. If Magnus the Red is actually just dead on arrival, do you have to read his entry? Do you have to read his like 20 effects? They're not 20 effects. That's hyperbole, right? That's hyperbolic. However, if they're just dead, do you have to deal with them? Do you have to debuff it? I kind of love it. It's just overwhelming violence.
Which is good. Weapons spotlight. See, powerful range weapons. The Executioner Great Blades.
Nice.
Executioner Great Blade is anti-psyker 4-up and devastating wounds.
Wow.
2 attacks at on a 3/5/2/2. So on a wound roll of a 4-up against a psyker, it will do 2 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends, or just 2 mortal wounds in general on a 6.
Cool.
This will actually put a lot of hurt on a psyker. Wow. yeah. I was about to say the Night Abominant or Psychic Monstrosities in the Hive Fleet. Just a squad of these girls, if it's like 10 attacks, on average does like, 10 attacks, hitting on 3s. So you'll get about 7, we'll say. 7 go through, and then half of that. So between 6 to 8 mortal wounds onto the enemy, and that's pretty good. Hot damn. Stratagem spotlight, Vigil Unending. Your command phase, 1 Custodes unit from your army, not Psychana. 1 destroyed model, excluding a character, is returned to your unit with its full wounds remaining. Oh my god.
I'm sorry,
you
what?
cannot target the same unit with the stratagem more than once per battle.
1 destroyed model, excluding character models, return to your unit with... What the fuck? Necron reanimation protocol? No. Just become the shiny golden god. Nah, I return to the battle. Brother, I must fight.
Wow. So you basically get a medic revive on a custodian, which is a huge boon. God damn.
Uh-huh.
I am genuinely impressed by that stratagem. Holy shit. Word from the studio. Every one of the 10,000 is a literal hero, and our intent design the Adeptus Custodes dash sheets was to capture that feeling on the battlefield. And many Adeptus Custodes units have 2 abilities as a result. The second being a once per battle ability that can be used to give that unit a heroic boost at a critical moment. This is needed as the ultra elite warriors, the Custodes, even when supported by the Sisters of Silence, are likely to be vastly outnumbered by their foes. However, their martial kata ability cements the Adeptus Custodes one of the foremost melee armies in the new edition, as their army changes its fighting stance to defeat whatever foes they face. Interesting. Gotcha. It's time for our orcs, boy. Oh, orcs, strap on your daka, boys.
Wog? Declare Wog?
Stupid gits. Orcs are next. Oh, I'm sure the orc players have been waiting for this one a while. Okay. I start off a little lukewarm. I've grown a bit more fond of it in some ways. The martial katas are something I've always just been kind of mid on in terms of like a lore and a fluff perspective. But I will say that I'm kind of okay with it now. It's not my favorite thing, but if GW wants to make this army this obviously they're hyper elite.
Yeah, they're an elite army.
Almost like a Tyranid type thing where they adapt to any enemy they fight, which is very Custodian.
Sure.
Custodians study their enemies like scholars. They read about the fucking Eldar. They watch their moves and their stances. You know, there's a part in the Master of Mankind book where a Blood Angel is watching Custodians kill Chaos, and he's like, they're really good at killing Space Marines. They're really good at it. That's a little
concerning.
It's a little sus. But the various stances here. I mean, this is a good rule.
Blood Angel be looking like, oh, Excuse you. I love this for them.
At the end of the day, this is a very good rule. They don't need to give you like Aegis of the Emperor in a different way, which was a 6-up Feel No Pain against psychic abilities, psychic mortal wounds, and a 4-up invul save. That invul save is baked in to the various guys. This fighting stance is good. This is a good debuff for enemies. These are great to pick the correct enemies you want to use. It's very excuse me. It's very like you can just choose. It's like I choose this as my Daka or as my Kata, and it works out, and it genuinely works out. I don't like this. I simply don't. I don't like how Aegis of the Emperor is a 4-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds, and it is only for this detachment because, as we've seen, mortal wounds seem to be still rather prevalent in the new edition. They're still around in a pretty good extent, and so I don't like this because it might force you into just this option. I don't know if there are other ways to get a Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. Maybe the shield, the what's that called again? The main custodian guard shield. Sentinel shield. Maybe that'll confer a 5-up Feel No Pain against mortal wounds. I'm not quite sure. So I don't like this attachment rule at all. I would have preferred something a little bit more interesting, a little less bland, and a little less powerful, because Emperor's Chosen was almost always the go-to shield host, almost every time. So I don't know. It's maybe my personal thing.
So would this be to combat a best in slot pick? I mean, like we've talked about a number of a number of times where if something just becomes the best in slot pick, that becomes a problem. You can have best in slot for certain things, right? Like Helldrakes, they're very popular for, I guess they're really good. I shouldn't say popular. They're really good at dealing with what they deal with. What do they deal with? Enemy flying, right? Your jump pack Marines, opposing Helldrakes, anything with flying keyword, right? Magnus even, right? Opposing Magnus. Helldrakes can take care of that thing very, very well from what I understand. But do you necessarily auto pick? Do you go into a 2,000 point game picking Magnus the Red, 3 Helldrakes, and 3 Vortex Beasts? No, except I would, because I'm insane like that. I would absolutely play that. You kidding me? That is an amazing 2K list right now. I would play that. I'll even paint it Kip colors. I'll paint it purple and black. We can make something happen here. I'll play 1,000 Suns. But, like, that leads into the issue where if you have Magnus the Red, where he's just, you're playing 1,000 Suns, what are you playing? I'm playing Magnus the Red. Okay. Or, why are you not playing Magnus the Red? Oh, but I'm playing 1,000 Suns. Maybe one. No. You're playing Magnus the Red. This is not negotiable. What is it? Avatar of Cain. Pretty good pick for Eldar. Some might say I hear he's an auto pick. I do disagree from a game design standpoint having auto picks like that. I think that can lead to a degenerate negative game state. Obviously there are plenty more people, and I will defer respectfully to 40K veterans out there in regards to games devolving in concerns games devolving into hero v hero rather than unit v unit, devolving into a number of things that this could lead to with best in slot mentality, right? But that's also why they update the codex every 3 to 4 months at this point, right? They update things with lore. Eldar has an entire rework coming in potentially with their codex, their Strings of Fate shenanigans that got quad nerfed going into 10th. It was just that good that it had to get nerfed multiple times. Probably the strongest in their factions makes sense, right? And it can make sense. I know that there's been criticism from both sides, because if you're a guard player and you want to play 200 Kriegsmen, maybe some Baneblades, but you fight, I don't know, Rob Gurleyman every single game, and he's a problem every single game. Is that necessarily a feature of the game, or is that a byproduct of how the game plays? I think there's a discussion to be had there, and the answer probably lies somewhere in the Infinity of Grey in the middle.
They got rid of the reroll 1 hit or wound roll, though, so a 1 point for reducing rerolls. But Trajan, I mean, he's looking quite nasty, proper nasty.
Can't wait.
Would say. His abilities are rather good. His moment shackle is very good. He hits quite hard. He's tough. All things are pretty good. Honestly, the fact that every single unit has 2 abilities, a single once per battle, is actually really exciting. I like that a lot because it's very exciting to see what you can do with it. What's the bikes? What are the bikes gonna get? What are the regular custodians gonna get? What are the wardens gonna get? You know, I'm rather like, do the Forge World guys get the same? Do Sagittarum and also Venatari get something? That's
I saw one off Reddit post, something 10th edition Forge World, I guess, aren't performing. I guess as well, I guess in 10th edition, the Wraithseer, which is Forge World, is not performing as well as a Wraith Lord, which is really interesting to think about, because I was always under the impression some Forge World stuff was absolutely busted.
actually pretty cool. And from Golden Light is a really good ability, dude. Like it's also crazy because there's no restrictions on it. You could just take a enormous chunk of custodians and at the end of the first battle round, just bring them in and then move them 5 inches. So you'll be getting a 4-inch charge if you're at the thing you want to fight. Not to mention all the shooting. Not to mention the you can get on an enemy's objective. Like that's a very good ability.
Very spicy.
Slayer of Tyrants is also just really good in general. And then the sisters, I kind of do wish they had some kind of like anti-psychic ability for the enemy. Like if you're within 18 inches of the Sisters of Silence, anytime a psychic shooting attack is made, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Something like that, That would have been kind of nice. But I won't lie, they certainly can put some hurt on a psyker, and they don't take much damage from psykers either. So that's pretty good.
I feel like that's my skill check. I feel like that is 100%. I would like to be able to, that the inevitable goal, to go up against a very skilled Custody player with Eldari, specifically with enough game knowledge, Drukari, and be able to win with minimal losses. I obviously RNG of the game. I think that would be a good goal to set in terms of game knowledge, especially because of how anti-psyker some of these things are. Like, goddamn.
This blade too. Holy hell, this thing is gonna ruin psykers. Oh my god,
I want those. Those are great. Cool.
And this stratagem is wow. Yeah, that this is quite the stratagem.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, but the only thing I'm not a huge fan of is I'm actually kind of surprised custodians have leadership 6. Huh. Trajan having 5 is, I thought they would all have 5. Well, I guess you're not going to take much battle shock because you have such tiny units. It's like a unit of 3. So you can only take it if you roll it down to 1. So I guess it all depends. Also, I guess you would use the stratagem in the command phase first, so you probably bring it back up to normal size. It's fine. They want battle shock to be a very important thing in the game, and so one would argue that the battle shock of these guys are a lot more dedicated to their unit size, and that's what keeps them from being easily battle shocked, as opposed to their leadership characteristic. Overall, I am actually, I'd say, pretty okay with this. This stratagem is good. The sister stuff they showed is good. The Alara's custodians, in my opinion, are the standouts. These guys look like really nasty, and the extra toughness is excellent. The extra toughness across the board is actually really, really good because when you think about it, like las guns are going to wound custodians on 6s, and that's I'd say fluffy. Even heavy bolters are going to wound these guys on 5s. So I'd say that extra pip of toughness is a pretty good deal.
I think it's a good spot.
Yeah, Katas are fine. Still iffy on the lore thing, but Katas are fine. Not a fan of this shield host thing, but it's one. When the new book comes out, they'll get more. Okay. Tomorrow is Orcs, everybody. I hope you're excited like I am. I am excited. I don't play Orcs, but I'm excited because it's Orcs. Come on.
It's Orcs.
I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
I actually really loved this. I'm very sad that I didn't get into 40K earlier, but I feel like now was a perfect time to get into 40K. And it's been interesting to see where the preview going into 10th edition of the Adeptus Custodes was versus now, where we know that they did take a very big event recently. So it's very interesting to see a was back then versus now currently. A lot of people. I love it. I love the army. I bought my 3 combat patrols. I brought my bought some other stuff to help kind of to supplement it, and I'm ready. I'm ready to play some Custodes or Eldar, whichever I can actually get games with. But thank you everyone for watching. I really do appreciate this. Let me know if you liked this. I would like to do more of these, even if it's just kind of a just kind of like a breakdown kind of thing, just kind of a casual get together, shoot the shit, so to speak. Yeah. Let me know how you like this. Thank you everyone for watching. I really do appreciate this. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next, and I'll see you in the next one.